Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to another tale. This one is not a creature and is not, well, it is an ancient tale, but it's not out of the ancient tale manuscripts. But it has to do with one of the coming up ones, Osen and Tairngire. What this one is going to be about is strictly what Tairngire is and what it represents in Irish culture. So sit back, smash that subscribe button, grab a horn of mead, and let's get to it. The fabled paradise island of Tairngire is said to be located off the west coast of Ireland. Tairngire is known as the land of perpetual youth. It is also named the Island of the Living, the Island of Life, Brazil's Island, the Island of Promise, and the Land of Youth, among others. It is also known as the Irish Celtic Underworld, or at least one of them. We'll get into that a little bit later in this. The story of Tairngire is one of the island where time stands still. In legend, those on the island are said to never age, and they never grow old. It is said that it's to be the land where there is no illness and no sorrow. In stories, the island is covered in blooming flowers, which never die. Orchards of fruit trees and forests dripping with honey. Days are filled with sports. And of course, mead. Can't forget about the mead. The climate is temperate, never too hot, never too cold. Everyone who lives on the island is beautiful and young. They never suffer from pain or illness, and they live a life of perpetual happiness. To live in the island of paradise of Tairngire was desired by all. However, reaching the island proved fun. It was said that one would have to cross a stretch of water and then travel beneath the waves for some time. At that point, the island would emerge. In the center of the lore about the fabled paradise is the story of Osen. Osen was a great warrior and was revered as a fine athlete. He was a very gifted poet, and he was a son of the mythical Thuinn. Thuinn was the leader of a group known as the Fana, who guarded the King of Ireland. Osen and the Fana would explore the green hills of Ireland daily, hunting and protecting the king. Osen was very happy with his life with the men. We'll get more into the story later on when I do the ancient tale about strictly of Osen and the island of Tairngire. There is a poem by the Irish writer Thomas Kinsale, a piece entitled Near in February. The day dawns with scent of must and rain, of open soil, dark trees, and dry bedroom air. Under the fading lamp, half-dressed my brain, idling on some compulsory fantasy. I towel my shaven jaw and stop and stare, riveting by dark, exhausted eye, a dry, dawn-turning mouth. It seems again that it is time to learn. In its unturning, crumbled piece of growth, to which, for the time being, I return, now plenty in mirror of my soul. I read that I have looked my last on youth, and little more, they are not made whole. Below my window, the waking trees, hacked clean for better bearing, stand defaced, suffering their brute necessities. And how should the fresh flesh not quell that span for span is mutilated more. In slow distaste I fold my towel with what grace I can, not young and not renewable, but man. All the steady drip, 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 deterioration in stage of skin and of dulling eyes, but we all, men or women, continue to dress ourselves in the armor to face day. In the last words, in slow distaste, I fold my towel with what grace I can, not young and not renewable, but man. In those few brief words, it's an important question of elderly drawn. Why is it that the global society, we have a tendency to fixate on the irreversible, unstoppable nature of aging? As for our Homo sapien brains to understand the concept of mortality, we have raged against the perceived tragedy of fading youth, and, of course, which would inevitably follows, death. For centuries, this has been a universal fear of everybody. Taking all this into account, it is most certainly not up for nothing that the most famous legend with the ancient Ireland is that of Tairngire, a place name which translates literally to the land of young. Indeed, the perpetual youth of this century's disdains have features since best remembered for by lovers of Irish folklore. However, not many are aware that Tairngire is just one of many names given to what we know as the Celtic Otherworld, a place populated with supernatural races, the divine, and even some stories, the dead. A land of eternal youth populated with the spirits of the deceased. That's about as strange as it sounds at first reading. But then, Irish myth has never been known for its simplicity. Other names commonly given to the Celtic underworld include Tairngire, land of the promised, Ildathach, multicolored place, and Emain, Isle of the apple trees. With each new name, the realm takes on, new characteristics. However, health, youth, and happiness can quite safely be considered the general baseline requirements. Other Celtic mythologies, such as those native to either Wales or Scotland, feature similar territories in their legend and landscapes, such as Aon and Emain in the Welsh. All these places that are inhabited are free to do so as they please. Not only do whatever they never have to do when they die, but they never have to experience the derogatory of work or pain of loss. In Irish storytelling, Tairngire and its sister lands have occasionally been visited by, lucky mortals. The most famous being, like I said before, Ulsan. The traditional Irish names for the stories describing the branches of the inner world barriers are the Echta, the adventure, the Irman, the voyage, and these stories, lands like Tairngire, are sometimes accessed by burrowing into the ground beneath an ancient burial mounds and caves, and sometimes risking one's life by swimming underwater. However, the most common is Mead, the pain of honey. This is the name given to the stretch of calm water, in the otherwise tumultuous sea, turned golden by the rays of the sun. On foot or horseback, a courageous mortal could leave everything they knew behind by following this path. Provided, of course, they knew how to find it in the first place. To this end, a guide was often needed. Each story, the people have a different guide. So when we get into the Ulsan story, you'll find out who his guide is. And that is going to be coming in another branch of this in Ancient Irish Tales. Should be, I believe, soon. Like I said, there are many stories that do have Tairngire in them. I will not get into them right now. Some of the themes and symbolisms of it it's a place depicted as a paradise and, supernatural realm of what we mentioned before. The inhabitants are mainly described as the Tuatha De Danann, or, well, warriors of the Tuatha De Danann. While they're in Tir na Nog, they engage in poetry, music, and entertainment, and, well, feast, which grants immortality to the participants. The Eitri adventure entails various Irish myth heroes' visit. The Irish Celtic god that they claim rules this region is said to be the first ancestor of the human race, and, well, one of his traits is the god of the dead. In surviving tales, he's almost always named Menon MacLear. Menon usually is described as a warrior and sometimes accompanied by his golden-haired wife or daughter, and sometimes with a golden helmet. Tir na Nog is described as a beautiful place, but it is usually dangerous and hostile to humans, who, well, remain on the island for a period of time that is typically multiple of 3 years. Again, 3 is very common in Celtic mythology. The women of Tir na Nog are very beautiful, and may be the only residents. Sometimes leave to visit mortal realms of men, otherwise to establish a presence. There's also a salmon inhabited well, or fountain in Tir na Nog, that is found near the enormous tree of growth and hazels, or, well, Ladiesborough, where the bloom was always on the bough and the air was heavy with sweetness of the orchids and the lake areas, perhaps Dongchara. Typically, an enormous tree lies in the center of the island, and birds sing beautiful music. Its branches as stated to be one of the souls of the dead. A drinking horn suspended near the well or the enchanted cup is always present in some of the tales, along with a silver branch. It is a symbol found throughout Irish mythology and literature. It contains golden apples, perhaps even somewhere, an enchanted herb of false war. There are cities and fortresses made of precious metals and a feather etched in Tir na Nog. Although the exact number is not quite clear, in some stories they're multicolored, flowered plain filled with bees, and underneath the forested wilderness of Tir na Nog is a parting, is sweet as honey, and maybe forever. That is of Tir na Nog. Please hit that subscribe button, and I will, of course, continue what I'm doing. Put in the comments what you'd like to hear, besides the ancient tales and more of the creatures of Ireland. Let me know what you'd like to hear about the different aspects of Ireland.